Like many of you, I have a soft spot for the Pokemon franchise. Pokemon Blue version was the first game I ever owned, as I received it for my birthday alongside Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle 2. However, as I've grown older, the franchise hasn't exactly evolved with me. And in many ways, I find myself having less and less fun with this overly stagnant series. That's not to say there's no enjoyment to be had in modern Pokemon. With each generation, there's clearly a lot of passion put into designing the unique critters, but as much as I enjoy goofballs like Tinkaton or Mega Victory Bell, I mostly just find myself wishing that they existed in a better game than their native ones. Unfortunately, by the power of ROM hacks and fan games, my prayers have been answered. And the latest ROM hack to catch my eye is Pokemon Lazarus, a crystal-inspired ROM hack set in the brand new Ilios region, a Greek-themed location. This setting features 400 returning Pokemon from throughout Gens 1 through 9. Although that number sells things a little bit short, as in addition to the 400 numbers in the dex, there are some regional variations and a ton of Mega Evolutions, including the new Megas from ZA and some custom Megas for overlooked Pokemon like Toucannon and Cyclizar. And of course, with all of these new Megas, as well as later generation Pokemon made in the art style of Pokemon Crystal, there's a ton of custom sprites, and they're beautiful. Like, I'll fully admit, I have nostalgia for this art style. I grew up playing Blue and Gold version for countless hours. But even if you don't share the same rose-tinted glasses that I do, it's hard to deny having a singular vision for the sprite art has improved the graphics overall. And seeing something this gorgeous just makes me wish that Pokemon would go back to 2D sprites, even just as an option. The 3D models are so rough. But it's not just the Pokemon who get a visual glow-up. The entire world is gorgeous as you travel through different biomes such as marshes, cherry blossom areas, frozen caves, ancient Greek ruins, volcanoes, mines, the works. And the player themselves looks great and is customizable through a series of unlockable outfits. These outfits range from modern clothing such as a safari outfit to more traditional Greek wear, including a gladiatorial getup. And by using cheat codes, you can even unlock the ability to play as Zelda or Link. Female characters get Zelda, whereas male characters get Link. Although, in the costume box item, you can also change your gender at will, which is a cool way of checking out the different outfits assigned to each gender. And for any trans people in the audience, in case you're concerned about misgendering, there's actually been effort put into the script to remove the player character ever being referred by gendered pronouns or phrases. So you can run around to your heart's content without getting jump scared by fucking pronouns! Now, as for the campaign itself, you are a recent university transfer to the region of Ilios, and studying, amongst other things, the Lazarus taxa, which is a phenomena of Pokemon previously thought to be extinct showing up in the wild. This means that fossil Pokemon are actually catchable in the grass, although there are still fossils to be found and rejuvenated if you'd rather do things the old school way. In exploring the region, you not only go for your 8 gym badges, but also have encounters with Team Chimera, who want to use these ancient Pokemon for nefarious means to control the region and even the world. It's the standard stuff you would expect from a Pokemon story, but the Greek flavoring is sprinkled in there in satisfying ways. Every gym leader is modeled after one of the 9 muses. But rather than all being monotype trainers, each gym has 2 typings. This means you can still outmaneuver them with clever team makeup, but it's going to be a lot harder than just bringing a surf spammer to the ground type gym. Especially since the gym leader's team is not fixed. Instead, each leader has a concrete ace that will always be their final Pokemon, but everything before that comes from a pool and is randomly drawn. So rather than building your team to explicitly hard counter a set of Pokemon where you know everyone's moves and typings, you want to have a generically strong team with an advantage over the two types chosen. For example, early on, there's a gym leader with Psychic and Fighting types. So I brought a decent number of Fairies, Ghosts, and Dark types, and had to adjust my plan on the fly depending upon what Pokemon the leader herself brought. I found this to be a really refreshing challenge, especially because, on hard mode, the difficulty is above what you would expect from a standard Pokemon game, but not so absurd as to feel like a Kaizo hack. You're not going to run into any huge power slackings here. Although enemy gym leaders will bring their own Mega Pokemon once you have access to a Mega Stone. And in the late game, double battles against the evil Team Chimera see you facing incredibly well put together teams. Basically, it's enough to be a challenge for an adult, but you're not going to have to whip out the damage calculator anytime soon. Although, if you're in the mood for a more relaxed and chill adventure, you can turn things down to normal mode, and there's plenty of side activities to do, each of which has been given a lot of thought and care. There's the Pinball Palace, where you can play the Pokemon pinball minigames, now redone in a crystal art style. Or you can go on mining expeditions a la Diamond and Pearl in order to find things like evolution stones, fossils, and shards, which themselves can be traded for rare items. Various NPCs will also have side quest requests for you, such as university students who want you to catch every Pokemon from a route, or a guy who needs citrus berries to help heal his sick Pokemon. Although, in my opinion, the most fun of these side activities is rebuilding the Pokemon Conservation Park. You see, about halfway through the story, Team Chimera attacks the conservatory and steals almost all of the Pokemon from it. So it's your job as the player character and only competent person in universe to refill all of the exhibits with the appropriate Pokemon. Any Pokemon that you donate are lost forever, but you are given rewards for doing so. And if anything, this encourages you to catch a full box of Mons, all of whom you aren't going to be able to use in battles. Figuring out what Pokemon thrive in each environment is a fun challenge that requires you to think about things besides typings. For example, while some rock and ground Pokemon appreciate being sent to the desert or mountain biomes, not all of them would be happy there. And in contrast, someone like Go-Go very much appreciates being in the mountains despite being a grass-type Pokemon. And when it comes to the special exhibits, such as the Egg Nursery or the Reptile House, things get even more complicated. You need an amphibian or reptile for every exhibit in the Reptile House. So you've got to puzzle yourself over not only if the Pokemon would be happy in the wetlands, but also if they're sufficiently reptilian for this location. This was a super addicting side quest, and despite my hatred of catching mechanics, it had me engaged with traveling around the world searching for the exact right Pokemon to fill up my zoo so I could catch it and bring it back to the conservatory. And without spoilers, there's a pretty significant reward for filling out the entire conservation center, as well as just the satisfaction of saving the virtual environment. If I had to bring up one negative about Pokemon Lazarus, it's that the game tends to engage in what I refer to as ROM hack type changes. A lot of Pokemon have had their types changed for seemingly no reason at all. Now, in the case of Megas, this makes sense. Cyclizar gets a V Mega and an S Mega, each of which references the legendaries from Violet and Scarlet. So it makes sense that it would gain Electric or Fighting as its subtyping, and Mega's changing type is just a mechanic from the vanilla game, so I'm fine with that. However, in other cases, the type changing seem kind of arbitrary and random and can really screw with your muscle memory. The Elemental Monkeys and Politoed get Normal as a secondary typing, and Noctowl is now a flying ghost instead of flying normal. Doduo is a ground type, which threw me off as I started throwing thunders at it, not realizing it would be immune. And partially that is on me because there's a QOL where it shows the typing as you're selecting your attack. But if you're really in the zone with Pokemon, it's easy to get thrown off by just not remembering, oh, this type has been changed and now they have an immunity or resistance. I get that if you're trying to rebalance a cast as diverse as Pokemon, changing types is a easy tool to buff a Pokemon or just make it seem more unique as compared to its fellows. But it really irks me, especially as I find that oftentimes these type changes run counter to my understanding of the Pokemon's place in nature. Perhaps the most annoying one to me is that Dragonair gets a water secondary typing. However, Dragonite is still Flying Dragon and Dratini is still Pure Dragon. It just feels so arbitrary and I don't understand it. I really don't. I get that you can catch them in the water while fishing, but I don't believe that everyone who lives in the ocean should be by default a water type. I don't know, maybe that's just the boomer energy in me. You can call me a Lazarus Taxa if you want. And this is ultimately just a minor quibble that didn't stop me from enjoying the game in its entirety, so I'd still highly recommend you check out Pokemon Lazarus. I have it linked down below in the description, and while you're down there, I'd really appreciate a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Speaking of which, it's time to thank my patrons. Thank you to Glup Shido, Electric Giga, Erica Ford, YLO1, George Grenville, the 7th PM, Jamie Collins, Arvis, Crispy Matthews, Floahay, Amy Hazel, Hungry Heart, Shinthia, Faulty Videos, Kyle Madison, Derek Williams, Anna Cabana, The Daily Foogle, Faye, Magic Bite, Thoughtful Insanity, Robin Goodfeller, Ziggy WSB, Dysike, Chris, Root Beer Pants, Queen Elizam, Control Aegis, Roman Cormancic, Knick Knack Hammersmack, Carrier Has Left, Angel Nap Caceres, Cabbage, SUP, Caius Cole, Bree, Punch Fighter Champion, Eggman, Maxine the Vampire Queen, Dragon Mac Lancer, Sardonic Muse, Zero Gamer, Wannabe Cinnabon, Punk Tattoo Guy, Key the Iron Idol, Calamity Callie, A Clever Username of Lies, Jackson McMahon, Saren Gurlixy, Rezi, Andu, Rhea, Gameboo, Carosa, Fyron, Your Doctor, Frozen Helm, Patwit, Pillow Willow, Girl Boss, Lizard Bong Water, Christopher Bueno, Marin McLean, Jaden, Dylan Solis, Forever Lucas, Some Trades, Guiji555, Smaz Ruby, Zycrom, Robin D, Alenby, Hound Dogs, They Thom, Klon, and especially my Jagans, Your Best Friend 9000, Adele, Alexander Roper, Sensitive Luigi, Siggy, and Lil Man Man. If you're interested in supporting me financially, there is also a link to my Patreon below, but please only donate if you can comfortably afford to do so. Regardless of what you choose to do, I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, gamers.